Thanks for joining. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. As you're coming in, we'll get started in just a little bit. My name is Katie Hodup, and I will be hosting tonight's webinar. Again, we will be starting in just a minute.
Okay, please pause. Why we have no one here? I do not know. Okay, let me triple check our link here. The links are not always fun. Good question, Allison. We were in the practice session. That was what it was. And then when we hit start, that means the flood of people. Let me grab our link. The problem is getting the email out to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar tonight. Super excited that you're here with us today. My name is Katie Hodap, and I serve as the Graduate Assistant in the Office of New Student Orientation. And today we will host a panel for you. We have some lovely panelists, but we're going to let you all come in. So we'll get started in just about a minute. So just hang out, but we're excited that you're here today. Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us, we're going to wait a couple more seconds to let some more people come in. Awesome. We are going to get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Hodap. I use she, her pronouns. I am the current graduate assistant in the Office of New Student Orientation. And tonight you'll have a chance to ask some questions about orientation, about other things in general. And we want to be able to answer all of those questions. But first, I want to kick it off to our panelists to introduce themselves.
I can get us kicked off. Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Leach-Hughes. I serve as the Director of New Student Orientation here at the University of South Carolina. We're really excited to talk to you a little bit tonight about what to expect in New Student Orientation. And I will turn it on over to Allie from the University Advising Center.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We're so excited to speak with you tonight and tell you all about what to expect. My name is Allie Mathwig. I am the Director of Four-Year Academic Advising for the University Advising Center here at USC. And I'm so excited to talk to you about placement exams, about scheduling your academic advising appointment, and about getting ready to get into your fall classes.
Hi, everyone. I am Dion Yeager. I'm the Director of Parent and Family Programs. I'm happy to be here with you today. And I'll be here to talk to you just a little bit about what your parent experience will be like, your family experience while you're here on campus and participating in orientation.
Hey everyone, my name is Trent Toole. I'm a sophomore here at USC, majoring in political science and business management. I worked as an orientation leader over the summer last summer, and I came back this year as a team leader to help supervise orientation leaders. So I've been part of the office for about 2 years now, and yeah, I'm excited to answer any questions for y'all.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all, for introducing yourselves. Again, so tonight you'll have a chance to ask some questions. There should be a little Q&A feature box where you can submit your questions. This can be about anything USC related, and we will try and answer those as much as possible. We also have a few chat moderators in the background. Shout out to them, and they will be also working hard to get those questions answered. But to kick it off, I do want to start by asking some specific question to our panelists. So my first question is for Allison. And what should a student expect at new student orientation? And what is new student orientation?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Hopefully, everybody has a little bit of a frame of knowledge, but just in case, new student orientation is your first official opportunity to visit campus and really get a feel for what classes are going to be like here in the fall semester. If you're starting with us in the fall, summer, if you're starting with us in the summer. For our freshman students, it's a 2-day overnight program that allows you the opportunity to learn about the different resources and services that we have available here to support you during your time at the University of South Carolina. We're going to talk about a lot of ways to get engaged on campus, classes that you might want to consider. We're going to help you find those classes and where those are located. But really, we want you to feel comfortable. We want you to meet some people as you go and get your questions asked so you can have a really successful first year or first semester at the University of South Carolina. So that's a little bit of an overview of what to expect. But I will say that it's a 2-day overnight program, like I mentioned. All of our students stay overnight in the residence hall with us. This year we'll be in Women's Quad, which is right across the street from the Bull Street parking garage and very close to the Russell House, if you're familiar with where either of those two buildings are located. And during that time, you'll be on campus from about 8 a.m. on day one, all the way till about 4:30, 5 o'clock on day two of new student orientation. And we will do a variety of different things during that time frame, really to accomplish some of the things that I just talked about, meeting people, learning about resources, all of those pieces. Some of it's going to be in larger group sessions. You'll be assigned an orientation leader and have a small group that you'll connect with, which is what Trent's role is. So if you want to know more about that, ask him questions. But really, it's just there to make sure that you have that successful first transition to the Carolina community.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Allison. Orientation is definitely a special place and a special time throughout the summer. And so we're really excited to see you all this summer. But my next question is for Allie. And how will academic advising happen this year?
Yeah, we are so excited, Katie, for what we have planned for this summer. As you are an incoming student to the university, you will participate in what is called pre-orientation academic advising. What that means is that you will have a one-on-one virtual, that's very important, it is virtual, appointment with your assigned academic advisor prior to attending new student orientation. So in that virtual meeting, it's going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. You will meet with your academic advisor for your major. Your advisor is someone who is an expert in the major you have declared at this university. So they are someone who knows all about the requirements you need to complete in order to graduate in your chosen major. So you'll have that meeting. In that meeting, they are going to, get to know you a little bit. Start off with like, who are you? Why are you coming to USC? Why'd you choose your major? Then we're going to review some information with you about your requirements so you understand what you need to do to graduate in your major. We're going to review some tools with you that you'll be able to use as a current student to keep track of your requirements and your progress towards graduation. Then we're going to talk about any incoming credit that you might have, and we're going to talk about those placement exams that I know there's always a lot of questions about those, and how those placement tests and the incoming credit you're bringing with you from AP, IB, or dual enrollment might impact your first semester of coursework. And then in the second half of that call, your academic advisor will actually help you to register for your courses. So by the end of that call, you will officially be a college student because you will be in your first classes. What the really nice advantage to that this summer, how we are running advising, is that then that will allow you, by the time you come to campus for the new student orientation experience, you will know what to expect in terms of your major, and you can really focus at orientation about all of those resources and community building elements that Allison just told you about. You'll also have a chance to hear more from your academic college about what your experience will look like as a student in that college and in your major after your first semester. So we'll kind of get you the basics with your academic advisor so you know your class schedule, answer any questions, and then you'll get to continue that conversation when you arrive for your 2-day new student orientation experience.
I appreciate that, Allie. The University Advising Center is definitely here to help you all be successful throughout your journey as a Gamecock. So definitely reach out to them if you have questions, and we can also help answer some of those as well. But want to ask Trent a question about a student perspective. How does someone prepare for new student orientation? Maybe what is something that they pack or need to bring to orientation?
Yeah, so from a student perspective, definitely one of the biggest things is bedding. People forget bedding a lot, and when they get to the dorms, it's just the mattresses in there. It is a really nice opportunity to be spending the night in a dorm room for the first time, especially if you like have never been on a college campus before. But definitely don't forget to bring bedding. On top of that, just kind of come with like an optimistic attitude, regardless of if you've been around USC your entire life or if you're from out of state and you don't really know much about the program. You're going to learn a lot of stuff, and just kind of being open minded and optimistic is really helpful for your transition. You'll meet a lot of cool people in your small group that you'll get. So when you come to orientation, you get paired with an orientation leader. You get put in a small group of about 20 to 25 people, and they're all going to be incoming freshmen, different majors, different hometown, different everything. So just being like open to meeting new people. Those can be like your first real connections in college. I know people who are seniors now who have been friends with the same people since orientation. So just coming with an optimistic attitude, and don't forget betting. Pretty much that's a lot of good stuff to bring for your session.
Yeah, thanks, Trent, for that insight. Definitely bring a water bottle. It's going to be very hot in South Carolina this summer, as well as good walking shoes. That's super helpful just to get around campus. We want you to be as comfortable as possible. But thanks, Trent, again for answering that question. But want to move on to a question for Dion. Why should family members and supporters attend new student orientation?
Thanks, Katie. So we really encourage family and supporters to attend orientation because there's a whole program just for you. It is not just about the students. We also recognize that this is a transition for your family as well. We want to make sure that your parents and your family members who are supporting you through this journey have all the knowledge and information that they need in order to make sure that this is a good transition for you and everybody feels prepared for that first week of school. So there's going to be lots of opportunities for our supporters to learn information that you may have read a little something on the website or heard about it at an accepted students day event. But this is going to be your time and place to have those more in-depth conversations and learn more from all these different offices and resources that are available to your students. It's also such a fantastic opportunity for you to network with other supporters of other students. So just like as your students are meeting people and they're going to build relationships and start to build their community at Carolina, you're going to start to build your community of family and supporters that will help you along this journey where you can lean on each other as questions and things come up throughout your student time at Carolina. It really is a valuable experience for both the student and the supporter.
Thanks, Dion. That's super helpful. So now it's a chance for you to ask your questions or to answer your questions. So make sure you're continuing to use that chat box. And we also do have some moderators in the background that are answering those as well. And shout out to them for all of that work. But I want to kick it off. The first question. This was a question that has been asked. And for Allison, is there a specific packing list for orientation, and where can they find that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't yet checked out either the registration guide or the orientation website, we'll drop those resources in the chat for you. We've got some great things listed there. Trent and Katie have both talked about a few of those things. Bedding is one of those big pieces for our students that are staying overnight. And I've seen a few folks ask in the chat, what does it look like if we're traveling from out of state and how do we do that? You actually can rent bedding on campus. So if that's something that you're interested in, it can be done on site. Or I would encourage you to check your emails as you get a little bit closer. We'll send information about how you actually go and pre-order the bedding. That way it's available for you and ready to go once you arrive on campus. But if you forget something, you can also do it on site as well. So it's no problem there. Don't feel like you have to hop on a plane and use your carry-on for all of your bedding if you choose to go that route. But beyond bedding, comfortable clothes are a really big thing. It is warm, as Katie mentioned, so making sure you're comfortable, you're able to move around. At the evening of new student orientation, we do a program called Gamecocks After Dark for our students. So after the day is over and you've learned a lot of information and hopefully made a lot of connections, we want to give you a space to like debrief the day. And we have a variety of activities and programs that you can participate in, everything from a dance party to esports, yard games, and so on. And so some folks will like to bring like a change of clothes for that, comfortable at playing pickup games, things like that. So just keep that in mind. And I do definitely encourage comfortable walking shoes. We are a rain or shine program. So that also means that even if it is raining, we're going to be moving around campus. Our goal is always to get you familiar with campus, but that's the only downside is that the rain comes throughout the summer. Typically, it does not last long. Everybody simultaneously knock on wood with me. But I do encourage to bring an umbrella or a raincoat, something along those lines. Plus, a raincoat's never a bad idea just because some of our inside spaces get a little chilly. So you can stay a little warm there too. Of course, if you want to get some new Carolina swag, you can go visit the campus store. And I'm sure they would love to help you out with that as well. The last thing that I think is important to note is just the chargers. Everybody always forgets a phone charger, and we have a few to spare, but definitely not that many. So don't forget chargers. Last year, some colleges did require laptops that they had to bring, and that's a common question that I've heard a lot this year. But because of what Ali shared, academic advising is taking place prior to new student orientation, so there's no need for a laptop unless it's just your safety blanket. That's okay too. Just make sure to keep in mind that you hold on to those possessions. Obviously, we can't replace things that are lost, so you'll want to hold on to that. The only other thing that I can think of off the top of my head is making sure that you have good access to your USC usernames and passwords because you'll need them during new student orientation. And in order to grab your Carolina card, you'll also need an official ID form of identification. It cannot be a photo of a official form of ID. So you'll actually need your license, passport, something along those lines to be able to claim your Carolina card. Great question.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. Those are definitely some helpful things. Again, that packing list will be helpful. And so I think those are some good things to get you started on that packing list for this summer. But my next question is for Allie, a question that we've seen a little bit. But how do you schedule the virtual Zoom with your advisor?
That is a great question. And it's actually not going to be on Zoom. It is going to be on Microsoft Teams, which is the platform that the university does use as a Microsoft campus. And we will provide you plenty of instructions on how to log into Teams and access that for your advisor. But Katie, to your question, I've definitely seen this in the chat. How do you schedule this appointment? Great question. In May, You will have an item that activates on your enrollment checklist that will tell you it is time to schedule your academic advising appointment. How that's going to work is that you will actually complete Cocky Transitions Part 1, which are part of your new student orientation modules. It's a series of videos you complete that have important information that we need you to have. This Part 1 of this module takes about 30 minutes, Allison, I think, roughly about 30 minutes. And at the end of that module, you will get instructions for scheduling your academic advising appointment. What you will receive information about in the Cocky Transitions module part 1 is you're going to hear a little bit more about your academic college, some general requirements. We will share some information about major change if you are thinking about a major change. You're going to hear more about University 101, which is one of our incredible programs and courses that we have for our new students at the university, and part of the reason that we have the #1 first year experience here at USC. So you'll learn a little bit more about that. If you're interested in taking it, then something you can talk to your advisor about. And so you'll get some important pieces that we want you to have before you schedule that academic advising appointment. Now, on the very last screen of Cocky Transitions Part 1, you will have a video instructions and a link to schedule. That is when you will get to make that appointment with your advisor. I also saw some questions about if you've finished everything already on your checklist. I want you to know your checklist will continue to have some items added to it as it is appropriate for you to do those things. So just because your checklist is all complete now does not mean that in May there might not be new items that are added. When a new item is added, you do get an email telling you a new item has been added and inviting you to do that process. So that will be the case with academic advising and scheduling. I'm going to talk here a little bit about timeline and what to expect. We are going to have invitations to schedule advising go out in 3 different waves based on your new student orientation date. The reason we're doing this is that we can make sure that we have enough availability to meet with all students at least 3 days prior to your new student orientation session. So the first wave of invitations will go out May 7th. Then we will have a second wave of invitations go out May 21st, and then a third wave of invitations will go out June 4th. So by June 4th, everyone will have been invited to schedule their academic advising appointment through their Cocky Transitions Part 1 module. So those 3 waves, if you are curious when you should expect that of those 3 dates, that information is provided in your orientation registration guide that you have received from my lovely colleagues here. And it is also something that we're going to have in various other places, so be on the lookout. But May 7th, May 21st, and June 4th are the 3 dates when folks will expect to receive an invitation to schedule advising appointments. Katie, did that answer all of those questions? Am I missing anything there?
No, that was great, Allie. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I also saw a quick question just to kind of tag on about who your advisor will be. I saw, am I going to have the same advisor for then this summer as I will when I'm here on campus? As much as possible, we are going to try to keep students with the advisor they meet with this summer as your permanent advisor throughout the year. However, there are going to be some times that might not be the case. We will sometimes have advisors change for various reasons. So we will try our best to keep with that person, but no matter what, you will be advised this summer by someone who is an expert in your major, and then your permanent academic advisor in the fall will also be someone who is part of that same advising team who is an expert in your academic college and academic major. So you will meet with some advisor from your team, probably the person you'll stay with, but not 100% all the time. But you'll have a fantastic advising experience with whoever you meet with this summer.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. Allie covered some great tips and tricks, as well as just answered a lot of your all's questions. If you do continue to have questions, just continue to ask them in the chat, and we'll try our best to answer all of those questions for you. But she did mention the registration guide, and I did want to quote that we will also show a QR code at the end of this webinar, and you can scan that, and that will take you right to the registration guide. But that will be towards the end of the webinar. But I do have a question for Dion, Allison, or Trent, if anyone else wants to chime in. But are there certain portions families should attend for orientation is a question we've seen a lot.
I think families should attend all portions of new student orientation. We do have a concurrent program that runs at the same time as the student program. And essentially, the way that works is some of our sessions are going to be together, student, family member together, and then some of them are just going to be for students, and some will be just for families and supporters. And we talk about a variety of topics throughout new student orientation, and Dion is one of the key presenters there, and Allie actually has a session that's new this year that I'm really excited about, giving you an insider look in academic advising and what to expect in all of those pieces. Because academic advising is something that happens every semester. And we want families and supporters to be really informed in how they can support their students in that, as well as all the different things that happen within the university, which is that really good handoff to parent and family programs. So I encourage families to participate. Usually we see one student coming to orientation and then bringing at least one family member to orientation. I typically say 2 sets of ears are always better to catch all of the pieces of information, and also recognize that maybe families and supporters hear things and have questions different from their students. And so that's a really good way to indicate that as well. We've got some opportunities for families and supporters to build connections throughout the new student orientation experience with other families and supporters, whether those are over meal times. We have some socials. There's even an opportunity for a free t-shirt from one of our sponsors for new student orientation, Barefoot Campus Outfitters. So we've got a lot of opportunity to connect. And I think there's a lot of information that families typically walk away from orientation feeling a lot more confident in their student's decision to attend USC. Not that they weren't confident ahead of time, but now they have all the answers to the questions, which I think is really key. Katie, I think you might be muted.
Hey, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm back. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. I think that was super helpful to hear a perspective of, what do parents and supporters really expect from orientation? What can they take away and put that back into their student? But a question I have for Trent is, and maybe Allison can also chime in, but what should a student expect in their small groups throughout the day at orientation?
Sorry, of course. So there are going to be 4 different small group meetings. They're all going to be relatively like along the same lines, but it's going to be split up a lot into learning about campus and also establishing connections. So there will be a lot of different parts where the orientation leader will discuss community building, like certain traditions on campus. For example, they'll talk a lot about like Sandstorm and what goes on at football games, or they'll like answer any questions that people have about classes. They do activities where like students can either like anonymously or not anonymously ask questions for the orientation leader to answer, and they can get those answered for them. They talk a lot about community building, clubs that they can involved in, ways to get involved on campus. And the other half is relationship building within the small group. The orientation leaders do come equipped with like a lot of icebreakers. And I know some people get jittery when they hear icebreaker. They're like, oh my gosh, like we have to play two truths and a lie with these random people that I don't know. But it is a lot of fun. You do build connections pretty quickly, especially since there's 4 different meetings and there's all 20 people who have never met before. I think the social aspect was always one of my favorites. Building connections with incoming students in my group, having them like get excited to come to college. And at certain points in the day, there do get like points where small groups will interact with other small groups. We had a lot of times where we would play games with other small groups to just have them meet more people. But it'll be a lot of like providing information that the students want, whether that be about classes or community, and then also just getting them excited for the school year. We don't want to like just throw information at them for 40 minutes at a time. So we do activities with them, we play games with them, we get to know them on like a personal level. So when they do get to campus, they know they at least have one resource here if they need to reach out for anything.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks, Trent, for sharing that. Small groups are a great way to build community. And those small groups will happen throughout orientation. Your student will be into a different small group, but the same orientation leader will lead that same small group throughout the 2 days. So I appreciate that feedback that you gave, Trent. But my next question is for Allie and about advising. It's a great question that we've been seeing, but are students who don't meet with advising until later in the summer at a disadvantage for getting into classes?
Certainly not. So we will work with all students as we have every single summer to ensure that you are in courses that you need for your major in order to graduate. Certainly, some classes will fill up, depending on when you meet with an academic advisor. That is a reality of our course scheduling, but we are very adept at our jobs in finding you alternative courses. A lot of what first year students tend to take in their first semester tends to be more of our Carolina core, which is what we call our Gen Ed requirements at USC. So there is a lot of flexibility in the Carolina core. I know that Trent's probably nodding along. Yep, there's a lot of Carolina core courses that we have. And so your advisor is kind of an expert on the many options that you have. There is a tool that we use at our university that is called a major map that allows you to kind of visualize what you might take over your 8 semesters here in order to graduate. But I like to say that this is a tool and it's not the end all be all. The major map is kind of a generic tool to say, here's how classes might break down for you to take semester by semester. But it doesn't account for if you're bringing in AP, IB, or dual enrollment. It has Carolina core, not in any one order. There's classes that we can switch around. So know that that's a tool that kind of helps you visualize the way you can complete classes, but it is only one option, and your advisor knows certainly the ways that you can get into courses that you need in your first semester. We also know that if the classes that fill up, that is something that you need for your major, we have processes by which we can request what is called an override to assist a student to potentially get into a course that they might need. And so what we're excited about this summer with pre-orientation academic advising is that we will have a little bit more of a runway to work with students on making sure that you get into the courses that you need and working with our academic colleges and departments to get enrolled in the appropriate courses for the fall. So I can tell you, I can trust me that we will get you into the classes that you need in your first semester and ensure that you have a full schedule of classes when you're here at Carolina.
Awesome. Thanks, Allie, for sharing that. A question I have for Allison, is what does the orientation fee include? And does it include meals?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Let's talk about what the orientation fee is. Then we'll get into what the orientation fee includes. So for students attending new student orientation, it's a $260 fee. For any family member or guest, that is a $130 fee for orientation. And yes, it does include meals. So let's backtrack and start with the student one. The $260 includes the overnight accommodation that is required for new student orientation. Like I mentioned, we'll be staying overnight in Women's Quad. In addition to that, it does include a variety of meals. So we've got lunch and dinner on day 1 and breakfast and lunch on day 2. So we will feed you. It also includes all of the materials for new student orientation. So typically you're set up with a bag. You've got a wonderful Garnet guide, which is a really cool resource. It might sound silly. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but it's kind of your one-stop shop, and a resource that will help you not only throughout orientation, but really throughout your first semester and first year at Carolina. I have some students that have shown it to me, and they have kept it all the way through their senior year. And if that is what works for you, I highly recommend it. But we try to compile everything that we know about the University of South Carolina into one place. That way you have all of the resources available to you at your fingertips. That's included in the orientation fee. So we've got a lot of pieces that are automatically included, but it also covers the space rentals, the parking and transportation that happens during new student orientation. And as Trent is an orientation leader, it covers his salary as well as the salaries within the Office of New Student Orientation. We are solely reliant on those fees in order to be able to offer new student orientation. Now, on the family side of things, that $130 is less because it doesn't include an overnight orientation stay. So definitely keep that in mind. But we still provide a lot of resources for family members as well. And those same 4 meals are also included. So lunch, dinner on day 1, and breakfast and lunch on day 2. Family members also receive a bag, a variety of resources throughout the orientation experience. And again, it's covering the space rentals, parking, transportation, and staffing for new student orientation as well. So that's a little bit of an overview about the fees.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. This next question is for Allie, as well as if Allison wants to answer it as well. But it's about I received an email to complete the math placement test, but I have not received an email to complete the language placement test. Does the language placement test have to be completed in addition to the math placement test prior to orientation, or just anything within general about placement test?
That is a great question. We get a lot of questions about placement tests because we know that that is something that is on our mind as we are coming into the university. So, you will have the two placement tests that Katie just mentioned. There is a math placement test that is available now, can be taken virtually, and is found on our website. And we'll, if it's not already here, we'll pop a link into the chat to the math placement tests. That is something that takes generally about an hour to 2 hours maximum to complete and is done again online. The reason that math placement test is encouraged for all students, regardless of major, is because the math placement test will not just determine a student's ability to take math courses at the university, but also other STEM courses. So for instance, chemistry courses or certain statistics courses. So it's important that students do have that placement test to ensure that we have on file so that we can appropriately register you for fall courses. We also say, even if you are a liberal arts major, I myself was an art history major, that taking that math placement test is a good thing to do for all students, even if your degree has a more flexible math requirement. I will say all majors have some sort of math requirement built in as part of our Gen Eds, our Carolina Core. But it's a good thing to do because you might not know that your plans might develop. You might add a second major. You might add a minor in something like forensic chemistry that requires a chemistry minor in the future. You never know where your journey will take you at USC. So we want to make sure that we have the appropriate placement tests on file so that you can take those classes. That math placement can be, like I said, be taken online, and it can be taken up to 5 times. So you do have the ability that if you take that test and don't feel that your score is reflective of your knowledge of math, you can certainly retake that exam, and more information about retaking that placement test is available on the website. For foreign language placement, all students do have a foreign language placement requirement at the university. It is one of our Carolina Core requirements, so all students do need to demonstrate some proficiency in language study. For the foreign language placement, depending on how you do on that, you can test out of a foreign language. So you have the ability to test out by taking the foreign language placement. Unlike the math placement, that's 5 times you can take that. Foreign language placement is one and done. So it is important to know that that is a test you can take only one time, and your score, that is going to be it, okay? That is also a test that is taken online. But the reason you might not find it online yet, and it's not on your checklist yet, is that it does not open, the online version of that test does not begin until May. So beginning in May is the earliest students can take that foreign language placement test. If you have the ability to take that before your advising appointment, that is great, but it is not a prerequisite to having that advising appointment. We do encourage students to try to take that placement test before their advising appointment or before orientation, but at the very least, we would like you to take that placement test before the first day of classes, because the longer you go from your language of study that you might have taken in high school, you're losing that memory of the language, right? So it's important that you take that as soon as possible over the summer, and it is offered virtually in May, June, and July, and then in-person testing will be available beginning in August. If anyone has taken American Sign Language, that is our only language that is not available as a virtual placement test. That is one you would have to take a placement test in person, and those in-person testing dates will begin in August.
Thank you, Allie, for answering that. That was super helpful. A question that we've received a lot is about immunization records. This is a question for Allison, but are immunization records required to attend, and where can they, submit those immunization records?
Absolutely. So we do have it as a task list associated with new student orientation about uploading your immunization records. And while it's not necessarily required for the NSO portion of new student orientation, I do highly recommend getting those in sooner than later, because you never want to get into a situation where you got a hold on your account and you won't be able to register for a next semester of classes. And if you do it now and do it at new student orientation, it should be taken care of for you. So I do encourage you to go ahead and upload those documents while you have easy access to them. You can do that through My Health Space, which we'll drop that link to everyone here in the chat in just a moment. You'll be able to upload all of the information. They are going to review your immunizations and let you know if there are any issues. It might be that you're missing a part 2 of a shot or something along those lines. So make sure to pay close attention to your email and to My Health Space as you're approaching your new student orientation experience. And they'll give you any communication that you might need to, upload something else or something along those lines. You will have the opportunity during new student orientation as well to touch base with our wonderful friends in the student health and well-being space in a variety of presentations, but also first thing in the morning on day 1, there will be a table that you can go and touch base and talk about different immunization questions that you might have. So definitely another really good option for you. And it looks like Jared has dropped that link into the chat for us about My Health Space. So definitely encourage you to start uploading those documents. I think I saw a similar question of like, can I use DHEC to be able to get those records? Absolutely. Whether that's your own doctor, a primary care physician, something along those lines, or you have them with the state or even your high school. A lot of institutions will hold on to those. You can request those, and as long as you've got everything you need, we should be able to accept that.
Great. Thanks, Allison, for sharing that info. Next question is for Allie, talking about advising. There's been a question about when should transcripts from colleges with dual enrollment credit and AP scores be sent to ensure you're being placed in the right classes.
That's a great question, Katie. And so we do encourage you to go ahead and send in your AP IB scores to USC using USC's college code, which I believe is 5818. And you go ahead and do that as soon as possible. If you're taking any exams this year, you can usually enter that when you are taking the exam itself. For dual enrollment credit, if you have dual enrollment credit from past years, you can go ahead and send that in now, but obviously you're going to wait until you get your final grades for any classes that you're taking now, because we do need a final transcript with grades before the university will process any incoming dual enrollment credit as credit to USC. So you should wait until you get your grades if you're taking anything currently. It's also important to note when we say transcripts there, we are talking about transcripts from the institution that you are taking the course, not from your high school. So you'll send in your high school transcripts to USC. That is one of the steps you complete in your enrollment checklist, but you're also going to need to request official transcripts from whatever community college or institution that you may have taken those courses from, so that USC can accept that as credit. Since we might not have that in our system before your academic advising appointment in May or June or early July, there is a mechanism where you can tell your advisor what you're bringing with you. So you will complete what is called our pre-advising worksheet. This is something that will also be on your enrollment checklist at the same time that you sign up for your academic advising appointment. That same day, you will get an item saying it's time to complete the pre-advising worksheet. And in that worksheet, we're going to ask you a couple questions, have a space for you to ask any questions of your advisor before your appointment. But the most important section in that worksheet is a section where you will tell us any of your expected credit. And there you will list out any AP, IB, or dual enrollment credit that you have taken in high school. And your advisor will then have that information to work with so they can prepare for your appointment and make sure they know exactly what you're bringing in and what it's going to translate to as credit. I know I've had some people ask, hey, how can I know? There are a couple places online where you can see if I got a score of a 3 or a 5, what does that translate to as credit at USC? And certainly we want you to have that access to that information, but also know you're going to provide that to your advisor because they are the expert and know exactly what a 5 on an AP exam means, or what taking a certain course at another institution, what that will transfer back as at USC. So you'll provide that to your advisor in the pre-advising worksheet that you you will complete as part of your scheduling of your appointment. And then your advisor will work with you so you understand what that credit is going to count for and how it will help you towards your degree requirements at USC.
I appreciate that, Allie. Thanks for sharing that. This next question is for Allison, but talking about Cocky transitions, we've gotten a lot of questions about that. So when will part 2 of Cocky transitions be released? And what does that really entail and include?
Great question. So Allie talked about Cocky Transitions Part 1, which is actually where you'll learn about the academic side of the university and then be able to schedule that pre-orientation academic advising appointment. Part 2 will go out via email, just like Part 1, and it will go out 2 weeks prior to your registered new student orientation session. And Part 2 includes all the other elements of the university environment. So outside of academics, we're talking student life, how to make the most out of your time at USC. We're going to talk about parking and transportation and campus safety, and a variety of other pieces. And ultimately, Cocky Transitions was created to kind of lay a foundation for your orientation experience. It's a set of pre-orientation modules that helps you come into orientation with a little bit of understanding of how the university works, and some common language in which we might utilize. That way you know what to expect, and you can ask better questions when you're at new student orientation, and we get to customize the experience a lot more to your specific interests, and the things that you think you'll utilize during your time at Carolina. So part 2 of Cocky Transition modules probably at max takes about an hour to complete. Cocky Transitions as a whole is required. Part 1 in order for you to be able to schedule that advising appointment that Allie mentioned. Part 2 to be able to attend and officially complete your new student orientation experience. So it is important that you complete all aspects of new student orientation, everything from Cocky Transitions to pre-orientation academic advising to the new student orientation experience in person. That is something that will, like I said, be sent to you via your USC email. But I do also want to just encourage you to start checking that regularly now, as you are receiving some outreach about advising, modules, orientation in general. A lot of the information that we're covering here, we're going to queue up as your session is approaching. That way you're not in the dark about any of the aspects of what to expect and what to do and all of those pieces. So I do encourage you to check your USC email at least once a week, and you should be really informed. But of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out and let our office know as well.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Allison. Like she mentioned, definitely check your email. You never know, something may pop up that you need to fill out. So making sure that you're checking that pretty often is super important. But my next question is a really good question for Allie that just came in. And this person shared that I thought I heard that honors students get registration priority. How does that look different in terms of the pre-advising appointments?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I worked in the Honors College for 8 years before I started this role, so this is something that is close to my heart, and welcome to the Honors College. So all honors students will also receive a pre-orientation academic advising appointment. All honors students will be included in the first wave of scheduling appointments. So honors students will receive an invitation to schedule their academic advising appointments on May 7th. So they are going to be in that first wave of appointments, regardless of when you have scheduled to come to new student orientation. I also saw a question earlier in the chat about what is different about new student orientation for honors students. And so I don't know, Allison, if you want to talk about that. I will just say there are additional elements built into new student orientation for honors students where you will have a chance to meet other honors students, ask any questions, find out more about the opportunities in the Honors College for beyond the classroom support, and also really that community building piece again that we've talked about that is important for all students attending new student orientation. You really get to meet your peers and build those connections. So that's true of the honors sessions as well. So those specialized honors dates will have some honors elements built into the schedule that you will receive from Allison and her fantastic team when you arrive on campus.
Allie's spot on with that. And one thing that I like to highlight too is there is a specific family session during the honors sessions. And so honors college has the opportunity to connect with families and supporters during that too. And you can build some community and drill it down a little bit further. But those are the main differences. There's some program meetings on day one. And then after that, just great opportunity to build connections and community like Allie mentioned.
Awesome. Thanks, Allie. Thanks, Allison. Wrapping up, we have time for a couple more questions, but want to touch on this question, and I think this is a good question for Allison or Trent to share some things. But what does a day-to-day look like at orientation?
I can go ahead and give my best recap of the schedule. So the first day you'll check in, I believe it's around 8 a.m. You will come in, you'll get all your stuff set up in women's quad. So you'll get checked into your room, you'll drop your stuff off before you have to go do anything. And for this first part, the student and the family member supporter will be together. You'll head over to the Russell House, which is like just across the street from women's quad. You'll get a lot of your stuff, like core stuff set up there. You'll pick up your Carolina card. If there was any issues with immunizations, you can get that fixed there. And we have the resource fair set up there as well. That's where you'll get a lot of resources from different on-campus and off-campus partners. They'll be giving out handouts. They'll give out information like that. And then you'll head over to our Koger Center where we do a big presentation. It's about 2 hours. We have big on-campus speakers come. USCPD, we do a history and traditions presentation. But after that, we switch into small groups. The students will meet up with their orientation leader and go with them. They'll do some activities, and then it'll be lunch as well. From there, it's a lot of different information sessions. You do get to pick a lot of what you want to do. If you're interested in fraternity and sorority life, if you're interested in certain like on-campus activities, we have one about veteran affairs and stuff like that. So you kind of just pick what you're interested in. We have dinner that's provided as well. And then from there, I believe that's when the students and families split apart. The families have a social at Barefoot Outfitters, which we talked about, and then their side of the schedule is done. From there, the students will go into a group of activities, whether we have some more small groups where they get to know each other more. We have Gamecocks After Dark, which is those group of activities, whether it's the dance party or the esports. And then the second day follows a very similar format. It'll start again with like a big meeting in our Koger Center with more bigger resources. And on that second day, we do academic college visits. So you will go with your academic college. You will go over to that building. They'll have either some advisors or professors or anyone. They give speeches on that, what information you need to know. And then I believe from there, you have one more small group, and that's when you kind of start to wrap up and check out from there. If you want to do anything else on campus, if there's certain buildings you want to go find, or if you wanted to go like find different things, like check in with certain offices, you can do that afterward. But that's kind of a general overview of the schedule and how it's going to go.
Great job, Trent. One thing that I will mention that's new this year, because pre-orientation academic advising will have you with a schedule, and I think maybe Allie alluded to this earlier. We're excited about the opportunity to show you around campus and help you find your way. So bring that schedule, and an orientation leader would be more than happy to walk you to some of those key buildings and make sure you're not lost on your first day of campus. Whether you are a long time Gamecock fan or you're new to the Carolina community, we can kind of help you figure out and customize that experience. And as Trent mentioned, I think one of the things that I like most about our program is that you're not just going to be sitting still all day for 2 days. We do try to make it really fun and engaging, and know that there are going to be some times where you're in larger sessions, but we do try to customize it with breakout sessions and panels, small groups, and so on. So you're not just doing the same thing for 2 days. So I know some people are like, oh, this is boring, but I promise you, our new student orientation experience is really intentional. And it's a great opportunity for you to really see yourself here at Carolina.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, y'all. I wanted to touch on our motto, and it's right where you belong. And we truly believe that when you come to orientation. So really leaning into that motto. But wrapping up, my last question is for all of the panelists, but what is a small piece of advice that you can give to incoming students at USC?
I can go first if y'all want. I was an incoming student at USC like about a year and a half ago. And one thing I would go back and tell myself is that I don't need to be worried about people like judging me. One of the biggest things I was worried about coming into orientation, especially, was I saw a bunch of different people. And for some reason, I told myself that they had everything together and I did not. And so I felt like I was under a microscope or that people were judging me and I had already gotten off on the wrong foot. But a big thing to remember is that a lot of people are coming under the same conditions as you. A lot of them are nervous. A lot of them have questions. And they're kind of just looking for people to bond with and to get to know so that they aren't in this by themselves. So just kind of reminding yourself that you're not alone in this and the people next to you want friends just as much as you do. And they want to get along with you. It definitely makes it a lot more optimistic and it feels easier to talk to people. And it just ends up leading to having a more positive time.
I'll jump in. I would tell our students and our families to come to campus with an open mind and be willing to try new things. So I think I see over the years I've worked in higher education for a very long time, students try to find and jump in with the things that they've been doing or they're familiar with it from high school. And that's great. That's a great, easy way to make a quick connection. But it's also a wonderful time when you start college to try something new, to branch out, to go and try and find that passion piece, that you can explore that other side and find some new things and new interests. And so be really open minded to all the new experiences that you're going to have when you come to college.
Mine, oh goodness. I think you've got really great answers here. Mine is like a practical one, which is check your email. I mean, that's a ridiculous piece of advice, but and like the practical tip is the university uses Microsoft Outlook, and if you have not downloaded the Microsoft Outlook app to your phone, go ahead and do that. It is a great way to be on top of your email, checking it between classes as you're going places. You're going to get a lot of emails from this institution. That's a good thing. We want you to have resources. We want you to know about events and community building opportunities and things that you need to get done to make sure you're on track with all of the various things you do at this university. So getting in the habit of checking your email and checking it regularly is really important. I will also put in a selfish plug. Once you have your academic advisor assigned, and you guys will hear from those your advisor this summer prior to your appointment, make sure you know their name because you want to look for their name in your inbox. Your advisor will only be emailing you when it's really critical information that they need to provide. So if they have instructions they need for you to complete before your appointment, if there are follow-up items after your appointment about courses, if there's information about AP, IB, or dual enrollment that they need information in July once AP scores come out, those are things that your advisor will follow up with you. So you need to make sure you're looking out for their name in your inbox so that you don't miss out on important information. So practical tip, a little bit of a selfish plug for academic advising as well, but it will help if you get in that habit now.
My piece of advice is that there's no one right way to do college. So definitely keep that in mind. I think as you connect with the orientation leaders, the faculty, the staff that you will meet at new student orientation or in your advising appointment or on your first day of class, you will see that there are so many opportunities that exist here at Carolina. And the most important one is the one that's going to work best for you, or the most important experience is the experience that is going to help set you up for the most amount of success. So definitely keep that in mind. And to the point of keeping an open mind, that's a big one. But also, if you don't know or if something's not working, ask those questions. Please don't hesitate. There are so many people here on this campus that want to see you be successful. And it might feel like you're just a number right now, but I can almost guarantee there is someone that is thinking about you and your specific situation on campus, the population that you fall within. If any of our special pops out there, I saw some questions about opportunity scholars and honors and our capstone scholars and all of these pieces. We work really hard to be intentional and to make sure that you've got what you need to be successful. But sometimes we don't know how to help unless you tell us what you need. So know that if there is a need, there is a resource. and we're just itching at trying to get to you and assist you throughout that. So don't hesitate to reach out. And if you don't know who to call, these people on this phone call or on this webinar are some of the best people that you can reach out to. Even if we don't know the answer, we can get you to the right place. And shameless plug for Dion, on the parent and family side of things, I know it can be really scary sending your student off to college, but Parent and Family Programs is one of the best resources on this campus, especially for our families. And they can track down an answer. So I really appreciate that, and I highly recommend utilizing the Gamecock Family Hub for all of those questions as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing your pieces of advice. I hope that you find that helpful. I think a piece of advice from myself is finding your community and getting involved on campus. There are so many organizations that you can join, and also just finding a community of friends, whether that's your roommate or within your residence hall. And Dion shared, like, get outside your comfort zone and try new things. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give. But as we wrap up, I do want to share my screen for some reminders. So if you can see my screen, can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Perfect. So registration for orientation is currently open. And you can register through Self-Service Carolina. If you do have any questions or issues while you register, reach out to our office and we are more than happy to help. And then also I shared about the registration guide below. If you scan that QR code with your phone camera, it should provide you the PDF, but you can also find that on our website as well. But if you do have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to any of us that are on the webinar tonight, and we would be happy to answer those for you. But we're excited to see you this summer and we're excited to see you in the fall. But I hope you all have a great night.